Let's look at how to model some die rolls and do some basic statistics in the database. Hey, what's up? It's Mark at alchemist.camp, and today we are going to look at random numbers and averages of all types and some other aggregate functions in Postgres. So to get started, we're going to create a new DB called dice, and then we're going to connect to it. And in this database, we're going to model die rolls where we have sets of 3 6-sided dice being rolled, because, well, there are people that do role-playing games, and who knows why you might want to roll 3 6-sided dice, but I want to know what the distributions look like. So first thing we'll do is create a table, and we'll just call this rolls, and it's going to be the simplest table ever. It's just going to have numbers, and each of those numbers is going to be a small int. That's because they're 6-sided dice, or maybe this will get purposed by some ambitious role player for 20-sided dice, but we don't really need any large numbers to go into it. So now that we have our data, or our table, now how do we get the random numbers? Unfortunately, randoms are not they're not cross database. There's no ANSI standard for it. In MySQL, you have rand, and that'll just get you a random number. You can do like rand 6 to get numbers from 1 through 6. In Postgres, we have random. So I'll just show you select random, and this is from 0 to 1, as you might guess. So how do we get a 6-sided die? Well, we multiply that by 6, and that's going to get us something between 0 and 5.99999. So we just take the ceiling of that to raise it from 1 to 6. So now that we have this, the next trick is how do we get lots of them, because we don't want to just have one roll at a time. So we'll actually generate a series. So select generate series. This will just create a series of numbers from whatever the lower bound is to the upper bound. So you can see here we get 10 rows and just the numbers from 1 through 10. Why would we want to do this? Well, what we can do is, if we're generating the series, then we can we'll just give this say as ID, and then we'll get our die roll as a roll. So we'll just go back to, our ceiling random 6. Okay, so if we have this now as roll, now we have 10 rolls. We don't want just single dice each time though. What we want is 3 dice. So we'll just pop this open in a better editor, and we'll duplicate that column. Let's see, we want that as a roll, and then we'll make that plus, and we'll do that up here. So now we have 3 dice added together. Should get us a range of 3 to 18. Looks like we have the basic logic. So next step is putting these into the database. In order to do that, it's kind of handy if we can just treat this entire thing that's generated here as if it were a table. So the way we'll do that is with what's called a common table expression. So we'll say with generated, and this is just a name that I picked, as, and then it's basically going to be this whole thing. So this is now as if it were a table called generated, and instead of just having 10 entries, let's have 100 entries in that. And we'll insert into, what was the name of that table? I believe it was called roles. Insert into roles, select roll. Actually, let's change the name of that to num. From generated. And what this will do is it will select these numbers, and we'll we're just going to throw away the IDs and put that into the roles table if we got everything right. And it looks like we did. So now we'll just get everything from roles, select star from roles, and you can see we have all of these die roles. So now let's look at some aggregate functions. Well, the simplest one would just be the count of them. So select count num from roles, and there are 100 as expected. Max is another common one. So wow, we don't have a single 18 in there. And min, we did get a 3. I guess that's it's going to be some pretty bad D&D characters. Now, how about averages? Well, there are 3 kinds of averages that come up a lot in stats classes or whatever, and that's the mean, the median, and the mode. Mean is the simplest. That's actually just called average in Postgres, or actually in SQL. So we'll select avg num from roles, and that'll get us the average. And that's kind of an ugly average. That's way too much precision. So we'll do round this number and 2 to just get 2 places of precision. That's looking pretty reasonable. So next we'll do mode. Mode, unfortunately, is Postgres specific, although this shouldn't be too different from what you see in other databases. We'll select mode, which is a function, and the syntax is a little bit different. We'll have to do this within a group. So within group, order by num from roles, and there's our mode. So the mode is just the most common result, and 9 is not a crazy result, but that's actually a little bit strange. It seems like we've skewed our set a little bit. So let's see, 7 would be the most common roll if we had 2 dice. Most common with 3 should be 10.5, so it should be either 10 or 11. We got 9. Then finally, median. Postgres does not have a median function. MySQL does, but in Postgres, what we need to do is use percentile, and the function for that is called percentile cont, and that takes an argument because it's actually a more powerful function. If you say 0.5, that will get you the median. It'll get you whatever is in the middle of that range. However, you can give it other numbers. Like if we wanted to know about, what die roll was in the top 10%, or in the, I guess that was a bottom 10%, or in the top 10%, we can get that. Well, that's still not very high. How about in the top 5%? Okay, and how about the top 1%? The top 1% was a whole bunch of 16s and then 117, and it averaged them. So the other thing you can do with this percentile cont is you can do that cont is for continuous as opposed to discrete. The other thing you can do is an array and give it multiple values. So we could say give us the bottom 10%, then the exact midpoint, and then the top 10%, like so, and we'll get back 3 numbers. And with this that I've just pasted in, we'll get everything that I've just gone over. So we'll have the sum as total, we'll have the mean, and we'll get the mode, which we don't need a name for. It'll automatically be printed as mode as we saw above. And then we'll get the median using this, and then finally we'll get the top and bottom 5th percentiles as well as the median. So this is a basic overview of what you can do with stats. And of course, the Postgres docs have many, many more functions, but this should be enough to get started with. And a quick look at the patterns that you can use. Hope you found this useful. I will see you next time.